Hi, it's Ken here. Now, this is a great question with these vocabulary: trip, journey, and travel. They're very, very similar words, aren't they? But we use them differently. For example, let's have a look at each one. We have trip. Now, trip is a noun, but it can also be a verb. Trip in normal everyday English would be to fall. You're walking along and you fall through an accident. This would be a trip. Oh my goodness, I've just tripped and fell. So trip is a verb, but here we're looking at it to be a noun. And if we say I'm taking a trip, or I took a trip, or next week I will be taking a trip, this means that you go on a short journey, but it also includes the destination that you're staying. For example, I took a trip to Edinburgh in Scotland and I stayed in a lovely hotel. So we're talking about the journey from my home to Edinburgh in Scotland, and we're talking about the hotel. So this would be trip as in a noun. Okay, so I'm taking a trip, I took a trip, we're having a trip, we're taking a short trip, we're having a trip to the zoo next week. I remember from being in school on our school trips, there we go, our journey, and we go and visit a place. And I remember going to the zoo. So we had our school trip to the zoo. So I also remember when I was at school, I went to the Netherlands, to Holland, on a school trip. So it's all about the journey from the start to the end, and it's including the destination. So this is when we use trip. Generally, it will be a short duration, maybe a weekend trip or a week's trip, for example. So it's going to be quite a short time spent when you're talking about a trip. So that's the first one, trip. We use it as the noun. The next one we've got is a journey. Now, journey can be a verb or a noun. Most commonly, we'll use it as the noun. And the journey is talking about the duration from leaving the house until you get to the destination. This is the journey, going from the beginning to the end, from A to B, is what we would say in English. So the journey was arduous. It was a very difficult journey. So we're talking about going from the beginning to the end of the time you spent getting to your destination. Not including your destination, not the same as trip. It's just all about going from the beginning to the end before when you arrive at your destination. So that's journey. The journey was very pleasant. The journey was very difficult. So we're talking about going from A to B. Not about the destination, just from A to B. And this is the journey. Mostly we will use it as the noun. We had a beautiful journey. We had an arduous journey. We had a very pleasant journey. So we use it as the noun. So that's trip. We've got journey. And then we've got travel. Now, travel mostly will be used as a verb, and here we'll talk about it as the verb. I travelled from Scotland to Thailand. So I travel, and this is the verb, a bit like journey, but we're using it as a verb to go from A to B. We're not talking about if it was a good, if it was a good trip, if it was a good travel or not like journey where we describe it as being a good journey or a bad journey. Travel is purely talking about moving from A to B. I travelled from here to here, and that is it. So we're not really going to be describing the travel too much. We're just talking to go from A to B. So that's the three pieces of vocabulary. We've got trip, mostly used as the noun to talk about A to B and the destination. Journey, which is mostly used as the noun to talk about going from A to B. And travel, and this is the verb to talk about going from A to B. So I hope you understand that. I hope that's cleared that up with those vocabulary. It's really good to know those three vocabulary to give yourself more of a scope or more description when you're talking. So let's see if you can use them. And if you've got any more questions, just please get in touch and let me know.